Introduction to the Quantum Mechanics. As per your JNTU syllabus, this is your first unit. Here, as an engineer, we should learn about the modern technologies and innovative world. So to make your way into this innovative world, you must understand the basic structure of the materials, as well as in the materials, you know that the number of constituent particles are going to be there. They are nothing but your atoms, molecules, and so on. These materials now are going to be having atoms. Further, those atoms are classified into, or else consisting of electrons, protons, and neutrons, and other fundamental particles. So, to understand the behavior of those fundamental particles means to make these materials in a innovative manner, or else to apply these materials in innovative technologies, you must know the microscopic level of those materials. In the microscopic level, we will observe the fundamental particles of the materials. That's nothing but electrons, protons, neutrons, etc. So in this class, we will go through the introduction of quantum mechanics. It means the mechanics of those microscopic particles. As a result, what are the consequences because of the motion of the electron, motion of the particles, some kind of particles, fundamental particles, that we will understand here. So now we will go through this in this session. We will go through that three topics mainly. Those are nothing but what is the difference between the classical mechanics and quantum mechanics, and then what are the failures of your classical mechanics, and finally what you are going to do in quantum mechanics. So these are the contents that we are going to be learning in this topic. Now, if you consider the difference between the classical mechanics and quantum mechanics, I'll give you a blind example for this one. If you want to move this object from from this lower part to a higher region to the other end of this mountain, let us imagine. If you want to move this object to the other end of the mountain, then it is going to be, if you are following this path, means in real time we will observe that we will climb that mountain to the peak, and then we will move towards the end. So the physics of this process or this phenomenon we are calling as classical mechanics, climbing the hill, and then we are going to be reaching the foot of the hill on the other side. That's what the classical mechanics. Instead of that, tunneling through that, means instead of climbing the hill, we can penetrate through the hill. That's what the tunneling, quantum tunneling we can call. See, the particle can travel. These are the two ways that we have basically. These are the two ways, two procedures that we have to move this object from one end of this hill to the foot of the hill to the other end of the foot of the hill. That's the reason we can approach any one of these two. So one is climbing the hill, and another is the turning through the hill, or penetrating through the hill. So according to quantum physics, if you are tunneling through this hill, is giving you that the physics of that phenomenon we are naming as quantum physics. Whereas as you are climbing through the hill, over the hill, then it is the physics, it is nothing but your classical mechanics. Very simple here. The microscopic properties are going to be learned in quantum mechanics, whereas macroscopic properties are going to be learned in your classical mechanics. See, that's what the examples we will go through this here. See, very simple here. Explosion of a bomb. Explosion of your bomb. In classical level, you see this. When you fire a cracker, then what happens here? A sound is going to be exploding there, and this is going to be splitting into so many number of particles. Simultaneously, some kind of energy is going to be emitted out. So this is what the effect that we can observe with our naked eye. As a result, we are naming it as macro level, and the mechanics of this one we are naming as classical mechanics. And coming to your micro level, fusion effect. A radioactive element is going to be decomposed into several number of nuclei. So in that region, in that process, it's nothing but kind of explosion in case of micro level explosion we can call it as. In this case, in this case also we can get kind of energy is going to be emitted out here. That energy we are utilizing as atomic energy or nuclear energy. So this is what the basic, this is about your microscopic level, means minute process we are going to be observing here, whereas here macroscopic level, the with our naked eye we can observe this one. But coming to your micro level, we have to use highly resoluted microscopes or spectroscopes we need to use here to understand this quantum mechanical approach. Naked eye is not able to observe this one. That's why we can say that its classical mechanics is realistic, which we can observe with our naked eye, whereas your quantum mechanical objects or quantum mechanical things are going to be non-realistic, imaginary things that we can observe here, that we can say, conclude. And then coming to the next one here, the differences. What are the basic differences between the quantum mechanics to the classical mechanics? You may ask a question, what do you mean by classical mechanics? So till 1905, means before 1905, before the invention of your Einstein's theory, we don't have any kind of quantum mechanics. Means classical mechanics where we are observing the mass of the objects is always constant, whereas in quantum mechanics the velocity of the light is going to be constant. And you have seen that classical physics is applicable to macroscopic particles, whereas quantum physics is applicable to microscopic particles. That's the basic difference here. And your classical mechanics are going to be following each and every object or each and every phenomenon in classical mechanics is following the Newton's laws of motion. Obviously it is going to be Newton's second law, whereas your quantum mechanics is going to be following here Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Each and every phenomenon has to follow this Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And in classical physics, things like electrons and atoms were supposed to be treated as strictly particles. But but the things like light and other forms of electromagnetic radiation are treated as waves. But in quantum mechanics, this is quietly different here. The matter is possessing a dual nature. Means the same electron sometimes act as a particle and sometimes it acts as a wave. See, when it is going to be acting as a wave, when do you append that wave nature to the material? Or else, when do you append the wave, particle nature to the material? That we will learn at the end of this session here, right? And in classical mechanics, to describe the dynamics of a particle, or else equation of motion of a object here, to describe the motion of an object, we have Newton's second law. But in quantum mechanics, we are replacing that Newton's second law with the time dependent Schrodinger wave equation, right? So these are the some kind of differences between your quantum mechanics and classical mechanics. Now coming to the basic differences here. The physical world is deterministic in case of your classical mechanics. That is, if you provide sufficient information about the given system, we can exactly predict its future. Whereas in quantum mechanics, the physical world is not deterministic. It is going to be it is going to be statistics. Means we can estimate all the principles and positions as well as all parameters of your quantum mechanical things, right? There should be some uncertainty. There should be some uncertainty is an intrinsic property of the matter. What you can predict are the probabilities of the outcomes of an event or experiment which is manifested at subatomic level. So at micro level, we are going to be estimating or predicting the outcomes of the event or experiment here, right? As a result, there should be some uncertainty. There should be some uncertainty in quantum mechanics. See, till we can estimate in case of your classical mechanics, if you suppose to calculate, if you suppose to calculate the volume of a small particle. See, in classical mechanics we use phase space here. Using that phase space we can estimate absolutely or accurately using your six coordinate system, means which is going to be having six coordinate axes here. So that six coordinates are enough for us to describe the particle. It is nothing but we are calling as phase space. But in quantum mechanics, we need here, even though that six coordinates are, we are going to be having six coordinate system, but there should be some uncertainty that is going to be an intrinsic property in this quantum mechanical system. And in classical mechanics, light are waves and matter consisting of particles. Light is treated as a wave, whereas matter is treated as a particle. But the both light and matter can exhibits behavior that are wave and particle nature. Here, that is what dual nature of the matter is going to be possible. Dual nature is going to be possible for every particle in case of your quantum mechanical things. Physical quantities can be considered as continuous variables here. See, energy, momentum, spin, all these are continuous variables. Means a particle can attain its energy is equal to 1.1 joules, 1.01 joules, 1.02 joules, kind of 1 to 2, in between 1 to 2 joules. It can exist any kind of values there. Infinite number of values we can predict between 1 and 2. That's the reason the physical quantities in quantum mechanics are continuous variables. Whereas in quantum mechanics, all these physical quantities are getting quantized, and we can observe that the energies are going to be discrete momentum and energy. All these values are going to be discrete values here, right? So now one can always find physical reality of a given system or object which is independent of the observer, means physically we can observe these objects or phenomena that are going to be there in your classical mechanics. So observer always affect the outcome of an experiment here. So it is going to be outcome of an experiment or event in case of your quantum mechanics. A point particle doesn't possess spin or angular momentum. Even a point particle can have spin and angular momentum. See, according to classical mechanics, macroscopically, if you observe, it doesn't possess any kind of spin or any kind of angular momentum. See, but whereas your in quantum mechanics, all microscopic particles are going to be observed that they are going to be having some spinning as well as angular momentum of the particle is going to be exhibiting there. And what are the failures of classical mechanics? Due to those assumptions, due to those predictions there in the classical mechanics, it is unable to explain. The main feature is that, according to classical mechanics, light is in the form of waves, whereas the matter is in the form of particles. So that concept of that concept is going to be failing, that failing here while explaining the black body radiation as well as photoelectric effect and the temperature dependence of heat capacity of solids, and also it is failed to explain the atomic line spectrum, and it is also failed to explain the Compton effect, Raman effect, Bose-Einstein condensation, quantum mechanical tunneling, superconductivity, superfluidity, and photoelectric effect. So these are some of the failures of your classical mechanics. All these failures are because of classical mechanics is not able to explain the motion of a microscopic particles. That the main impact why the classical mechanics is failed here, in the sense the electrons motion of an electron is not able to predict by this classical mechanics. As a consequence, we are going to be getting all these failures in the classical mechanics. So that's the reason, to overcome these failures here, we will go through the quantum mechanics. See, the quantum mechanics is going to be giving you that in 1900, the quantum mechanics begin in 1900 when the study of light emitted by heating solids was studied. So we begin in discussing the nature of light. So in this, we are saying that light is going to be possessing both wave nature according to classical mechanics, as well as now according to quantum mechanics, we can observe that it is also possessing the nature of particle, nature of particles. That's the reason in Thomas Young, already in 1801, Thomas Young gave convincing experimental evidence for the wave nature of the light by showing the light exhibited diffraction and interference when passed through the two adjacent pinholes. Yeah, Young's experiment, Young's single slit and double slit experiments are going to be giving you that the experimental evidence for the wave nature of the light. Before Young, that where the assumptions are there by the Huygens wave theory. According to Huygens, the light is in the form of wave. Before that, you have Newton's Corpuscles theory. According to Newton's, it is going to be light is in the form of corpuscles or particle nature. And after that, that corpuscle theory is failed to explain the properties of diffraction and interference as well as polarization. Hence, your Huygens has given that the polarization as well as diffraction and interference by the concept of wavefront. See, light is going to be propagating, or any wave is going to be propagating by by forming the wave fronts. Each and every particle in the wave front are going to be acting as secondary sources. As a result, the propagation of the waves is going to be taking place. So he explained the light in the form of wave by using his Huygens wave theory. So that experimental evidence has been provided by Thomas Young by his single slit and double slit experiments, so that it is going to be exhibiting the properties of diffraction and interference when it is passing through the slits. And after that, Maxwell developed Maxwell equations, predicted that an accelerated electric charge would radiated energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. See, Maxwell is given that any electrical charge, if you consider, yeah, electrical charge, it's a microscopical particle. Now it is going to be accelerated so that it is radiating energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. What do you mean by electromagnetic waves? It is nothing but the combination of electrical energy and magnetic energy is going to be propagating there when an electric charge is going to be getting accelerated. So this is what the light is a type of energy and has wave properties. You know that light is a type of energy, has wave properties. And then coming to the C, this is what electromagnetic radiation travels through the space. It can travel through the vacuum also in the form of electrical energy and magnetic energy. Every electromagnetic wave can travel with the speed of light. That C is equal to 3 into 10 power 10 power 8 meter per second, or else 10 power 10 centimeter per second in vacuum. Now we are going to be, if a light is going to be propagating in the form of a wave, it can be described by some specific parameters, kind of wavelength and frequency, as well as intensity and amplitude. Those are the parameters we use to describe a wave nature of a matter. So as a result, wavelength and frequency are related here. You know that v into lambda is equal to c, where, sorry, lambda into nu, frequency into wavelength is equal to velocity, that we are going to be having lambda into nu is equal to c. Which c is always for electromagnetic waves, it is c is 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. So the frequency determines the types of radiation. If it is electromagnetic wave, either frequency or wavelength is going to be a characteristic parameter of your electromagnetic wave. What kind of radiation is that? That we will learn here. See, by every means, either it may be microwaves, or else radio frequencies, or else visible region or UV region. All these are going to be characterized by its frequency or its wavelength. Now the wavelength of the electromagnetic radiation can range from miles to an inch to the inches here. See, where do you get the electromagnetic radiation? You know that when charged particles are getting accelerated, when charged particles are moving there with some velocity, as a result, you are going to be getting electromagnetic radiation. This electromagnetic radiation is going to be having its wavelength of miles in the sense, you know that miles to the inches. See, microscopic level to the macroscopic level here, right? Microwaves in a microwave oven to the millionth of an inch to the billionth of an inch. X-rays here, we can see here millionth of inch is visible light, whereas billionth of inch is X-rays. You are not able to see those X-rays here. And then as the wavelength is high, even that is also our naked eye is not able to observe those are nothing but your microwaves, or else infrared waves, or so on. Now the wavelength of the light is more commonly stated in the nanometers, where 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. That's a unit that we are going to be using here. And visible light has a wavelength of roughly 400 nanometers to the 700 nanometers. This range of wavelengths we are calling as visible light spectrum. Visible light spectrum. And then coming to this is what your electromagnetic radiation. So there you have, as the frequency, it is based on your its frequency. You know that the upper line is going to be showing the wavelength, and the below line is going to be showing the frequency. You know, you can observe here 400 nanometers to 750 nanometers. In between that, your VIBGYOR colors are going to be observed. You are able to observe here. As a result here, we are classifying them as gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays, infrared rays, microwaves, and radio frequencies. You know that if the frequency is less here, as a result wavelength is more, then it is called as radio frequency, and it is known as microwaves, infrared waves. If the frequency is high, wavelength is very small, then it is going to be gamma rays and X-rays here, right? For visible region, this is the region where we can get the visible region of light. Now we can observe this in terms of wavelength also very clearly. See another diagram here to to observe this: radio, microwave, and infrared wave, visible wave, UV region, X-rays. See, these are for, if the wavelength is very small, then it is tending towards your high energy particles, and if the wavelength is nearer to your 10 power 0 1 10 power 0, it is going to be your X-rays. And then further it is going to be ultraviolet rays, then you have visible region, then infrared region, then you have microwave region. Further you are going to be getting radio frequencies. So this is what the different regions in your electromagnetic spectrum in the quantum mechanical things. See now, the how do you explain what happens here, what makes the difference between the classical mechanics to the quantum mechanics? Based on these waves and their wavelengths, we can observe that here, when the radio wave and a visible wave is moving through the space, what do you observe? If they are moving at same speed, in the sense the wavelengths are going to be changing. See, one your visible region is going to be having 6 edges, whereas your radio frequency is having 3 edges. Then the waves are going to be looking like this. You can observe here the frequency is more, in the sense the wavelength is small. The distance between any two successive crust or trough is nothing but your wavelength. Here also the frequency is less, in the sense it is going to be having more wavelength. The distance between them is more. And then we are coming to the classification. How do you classify your physics into your classical mechanics and quantum mechanics, and where, how do you differentiate them? In the sense, if you coming to the size of the matter, if the size of the matter is large, and it is going to be possessing particle property only, you cannot observe any wave property in case of a macroscopic region. If the size of the matter is going to be intermediate, then you may expect some kind of particle nature as well as wave nature. Whereas if the size of the matter is very small, then in few cases only we are going to be getting particle nature, whereas your wave nature is going to be purely observed here if the particle is having microscopic level. So this is the basic difference between the classical mechanics to the quantum mechanics. As you are moving diagonally, you are going to be moving from classical mechanics to the quantum mechanics. Whereas here, when you are moving down in this column, first column, the size of the matter is going to be decreasing. As a result, your classical mechanics is turned into your quantum mechanics here, as in this corner here, right upper corner, right to bottom corner. So this is what the basic difference between the classical mechanics to the quantum mechanics in terms of the size of the particle. And then when coming to the velocities, if you observe that if the velocity is very small, then the size is also very big. Size is big and the velocity is small, then it is purely classical mechanics. If the size is smaller, you observe here size is smaller and velocity is more here, then it is going to be quantum mechanics, right? And now if the size is smaller and velocity is also larger, then it is called as quantum field theory. Whereas here quantum relativistic theory is also is going to be possible for us. And then in classical mechanics, everyday physics is going to be your classical mechanics. Planetary motion, skateboards collision, space travel, all these are going to be your classical mechanics, comes under your classical mechanics. Whereas the relativistic mechanics is small perturbations on planetary motions, measuring operators change if moving fast enough. See, non-relativistic quantum mechanics is also there for us here. So it doesn't depends on any kind of things here. Measuring apparatus can disturb the system. Nuclear theory and relativistic quantum mechanics. High energy physics here. What is a proton and how does it shine, stars shine? All this comes under your relativistic mechanics here. So this is what the basic difference between your classical mechanics to the quantum mechanics. Yeah. So thank you one and all for this session here.